Welcome to another Sapphic Lit author pop-up interview. Today we have Tairi Blair. Terry, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you today. It's going to be a little different because you don't have a book out right now, but we're going to talk about your other writing.
Yeah.
Um, and you write on Substack and you write very personal experiences on there. And, how do you balance that privacy with the emotional honesty in your writing?
Well, I write under a pen name, Tairi Blair, because it does give me that emotional room to tell the truth. I think it's not necessarily factual truth, but it's emotional truth. And that kind of creates a little bit of a distance for me. It helps me talk about love and grief and caregiving and faith, even aging, queer life, life without feeling completely exposed. I think that made me a little nervous, especially because I used to work for an organization that was less receptive to my lifestyle. And I want to be able to write openly without worrying about that. I write very openly on Substack. I'm at terryblair.substack.com. And I talk about my life with my wife who has Alzheimer's. And we've been together for more than 4 decades. And I also talk about a relationship that I developed about 20 months ago with another writer, author, L'Oreal Lake. So writing under the pen name, I think, helps me talk about emotional things with a little bit of safety, and but at the same time I can be as open as I want to be. So that's what I do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about your new relationship. And so, how has navigating, this new love and then this grief, shaped your writing?
There's a lot of complexity, that's for sure. I think that life is somewhat complex for queer people anyway. My wife and I had 2 children. We held 4 decades of life together, and then Alzheimer's changed everything dramatically. But it didn't erase the love I feel for her. I'm very much in love with my wife. And at the same time, I was lonely and scared and feeling lost. I was in caregiver groups, but I met Lori Lake at a writers' conference, and I'm find that you can love more than one person at once. And I've spoke to my pastors and friends, and even though sometimes it feels like adultery, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like this is the place I need to be right now. So I write about that on my Substack, about those experiences and how that feels both joyful and awkward and painful and grieving and hopeful. I think the thing I noticed that happened for me was the shift of fear and grief and just like died. There was no hope to a sense of creativity that I hadn't had. So I've been writing full time now for about a year and a half, and I've written 3 drafts of novels. I've completed one draft with my editor. I've written 20 short stories, and I'm publishing several of those and doing very well. So I guess that I'm just reinventing myself in my own way and walking through loss while at the same time being in love.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a boatload of emotions, and it's true about, your emotions can fluctuate, and sometimes you just can't be creative. And then when all of a sudden your endorphins are going, you're just like firing on all cylinders. So
Yeah.
that's great. And I know one of your books, it's called California Wheeling, a Romance. That is going to be eventually coming out. Can you tell us a little about that book?
I can. It's a series, an A to Z series, and it's not autobiographical, but that it is, and that it is about the 3 phases that I see in my wife's and my relationship. But it's certainly emotionally biographical. It's called the A and Z series with Adrian and Xander, the key characters. It's not a romance. It's been revised enough now that I would call it more of a literary upscale commercial piece. It's talking about deep emotional character development of a person who's trying to find her leadership style in her 20s. But it's a bicycle trip down the California coast with 36 high school Girl Scouts and a crazy experience of finding this woman who is very wise, a physician, and who just challenges the hell out of Adrian. So that's that. And then the second one is called Another Option, I'm writing right now. I'm about a third through, and that's hang on, let me turn this off. And that's about finding how lesbians find their children. So my spouse and I found kids, but it took 7 years. And I blend four other lives of lesbian couples trying to address in the 80s and 90s of what it was like in those days when the medical field turned away from us, when we had a very difficult time adopting children. How did we find our kids and how did we lose our kids? Because I know people who lost their kids simply because they were gay. So I'm writing about that. And then the third one is about
Okay.
called The Only Thing Left. And it's about Alzheimer's and what's left when you lose who you thought you were going to have the rest of your life.
Yeah. No, I mean, your Substack sounds great. So again, what's the name of the Substack?
Tairi, Tairi, Blair, Blair.substack.com.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us. Have a good night.
Sure thing. You too. Take care.
Bye bye.